Welcome to the Rocky Mountain MS Center's webinar series, Maximizing Lifelong Brain Health and MS. Today's topic is Beat the Heat, Summer Living with MS. This presentation features 4 staff from the King Adult Day Enrichment Program. We will start the program with Phoebe Peterson, a registered nurse through the program, and she will be speaking on precautions for enjoying summer weather with your MS. Holly Bent is an exercise specialist with training on exercise and adaptation to ability levels, who will be speaking on exercise in its many forms and recommendations. The final 2 speakers are Donna Lozano and Molly Winters. They're both certified therapeutic recreation specialists, which means that they have been trained in adapting all facets of leisure for many different abilities and are certified through the National Council on Therapeutic Recreation. Donna will be speaking on gardening, and Molly will be speaking on swimming. This webinar is scheduled for 1 hour. The first 45 minutes will be the presentation. If you missed something on a slide, we will be archiving this webinar on our website, www.mscenter.org, so you can replay it at any time. We'll reserve approximately 15 minutes at the end to answer questions from the audience. Please submit your questions throughout the presentation by typing them into the chat window on your screen at any time. We will answer as many questions as time allows. With that, we'll turn it over to Phoebe.
Thank you. So my name's Phoebe. I'm going to be talking about just the heat and MS, especially in the summertime when it gets real hot outside. So summertime is a great time of year. It's a great time for outdoors. But with the summertime comes heat, which can be really difficult for people living with MS. But there are several things that you can do to help you enjoy the summer. So some of the things that I'm going to go over are hydration, protecting yourself from the sun, clothing and some cooling options, and just making sure that you can protect yourself when you're going outside. So heat can help exacerbate your MS. It can cause a temporary exacerbation of symptoms. Doctors believe that this happens because the heat causes your nerves to conduct electrical signals even less efficiently than they already do. Some of the symptoms that you might experience if you get overheated are fatigue, weakness in your limbs, pain, and just a decrease in cognitive function. But there are several ways to avoid this. So one of the biggest things is hydration. Hydration is important all year round, but especially in the summertime when it's hot outside. 8 cups minimum of water a day is the very minimum standard for hydration. You should be drinking at least 16 cups of water. That should be your minimum, but at least 8 cups is the very, very minimum. An idea would be to get yourself a reusable water bottle to take with you when you go out. It's a sustainable way to make sure that you've got hydration on the go, and you should be refilling that every single time you pass a water fountain or refill station so that you always have water on you. I would not suggest using old bottled water because those containers contain BPA. And when it's exposed to sunlight, it can put harmful toxins in your water. So the best way to do it is to go out to a store, buy a Camelback, buy a Nalgene, buy something that doesn't contain BPA and is a little bit more sustainable. Get a clip, put it on a bag so that you always have it with you. Water is the best way to stay hydrated, so it's really important that you have that on you all the time. I can tell you I'm really bad at hydration, and keeping a water bottle on me is the best way that I stay hydrated. If you have it on you, you're going to remember to drink, which is really important. You can eat and drink some other things to help you stay hydrated, popsicles, watermelons, sports drinks, bananas actually. These are not a substitute for water, but they're something that you can have in addition to water. If you've been outside for a really long time, it can be nice to treat yourself to a popsicle. But that doesn't mean you should only be eating popsicles to hydrate. You definitely want to have water, but it can be a nice treat. But just limit them, especially with the sugar intake that you'll get from some of these. You want to make sure that you're still maintaining a healthy diet, and that is not popsicle-based, obviously. The next thing we're going to talk about is sunscreen. Sunscreen is really important because it just protects your skin, stops you from getting sunburned. It's not always a foolproof way of stopping getting sunburned, but it's the best way to protect your skin. The UV index outside is highest from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., so that is definitely a time you want to avoid when you go outside. SPF, it matters. The higher the SPF, the better, but that doesn't mean that if you have a higher SPF, you can reapply less often. You know, you should reapply your sunscreen every hour, hour and a half to really make sure that you're not getting sunburned. If it's cloudy, still put on sunscreen. The UV rays can still penetrate clouds, still gets to your skin, can still burn you. If it's cold outside, doesn't matter. Put sunscreen on. It's the best way. Apply it anywhere that's exposed to the sun, your face, your neck, your arms, your legs, everywhere. If you get wet, if you're sweating, immediately reapply sunscreen. The second you get wet, it starts to wash off your body, and it's no longer protecting you. So if you're going to go swimming and you're going to be outside, you know, you want to apply your sunscreen at least 15 minutes before you get wet, and then every hour you should be reapplying sunscreen, waiting 15 minutes before you get back in the pool, especially because the sun can reflect off the water and can actually burn you faster. So you really need to make sure if you're going to be near water that you're reapplying that sunscreen at really good intervals. Sunburn is it's painful, but it also dehydrates you. And as we talked about previously, hydration is really important. So if you do get sunburned, you need to hydrate. You need to increase your intake of water from what you're normally doing, and you need to increase it almost double so that you're staying hydrated because your skin is constantly dehydrating you. Go get an after sun lotion with aloe in it to help soothe the pain. But there's nothing you can really do to shorten the life of sunburn other than to get some after sun lotion on it and keep hydrated. That is the main thing. So there's some other things that you can do to help yourself stay cool. You can use a cooling vest. These are really great for keeping your core cool. Keeping your core cool will help you keep your whole body cool. You can also use smaller neckties and wraps if you don't feel like if you don't need your whole body cool, but maybe you're going outside for 20 minutes and you just want a towel or a wrap or something around your wrist. Those can help you stay cool as well. And something that's quite nice is a lot of MS walks and events have vendors from big pharmaceutical companies, and they give away a lot of cooling items, whether they're wraps or towels or just ice packs. So those are always a good resource. If you don't have a cooling towel or a necktie, you can usually get them for free at those events. If there isn't an event upcoming around you, you can also get cooling towels at most department stores. You can find them, Target, Walmart, Walgreens, sporting goods stores usually have cooling towels available for purchase. If you are interested in getting a cooling vest, definitely talk to your doctor about the right vest for you. They can help you kind of navigate what you need to find, and there are programs available. If you can't afford a cooling vest, they can be quite expensive, but there are programs available to help people with MS attain them because they are the people who they are made for and who need them the most. So definitely ask your doctor, look into programs about getting a cooling vest. It's one of the best ways to keep you cool. So these are just some of the cooling vest options. There's a couple different types. There's evaporative, cold pack, phase changing, and active cooling. They all work a little bit differently. Evaporative is a vest that you just dunk in water, and over time the water evaporates and helps keep you cool. It is the least effective and is probably the least recommended cooling vest. A cold pack cooling vest, you stick ice packs in it. Over time they melt. It's really effective for cooling. The downside of it is that you need access to a freezer to be able to be refreezing those packs. Phase changing is also, it's very similar to cold pack. However, the packs that you use in a phase-changing vest usually can just be dunked in ice water to reset their cooling mechanisms, which is a little easier than cold pack because you're not necessarily needing access to a freezer, but you still need access to ice water. And then the active cooling vest is probably the most efficient when it comes to cooling, but is one of the hardest ones to obtain. It also, you need access to a continuous system that will have water flowing through it. So while it's really effective, it can be kind of a pain in the butt to lug around. Is a great option for home, but maybe not when you're out on the go. Definitely maybe a cold pack or phase changing would probably be your best option. And it's not all about like vests and stuff. Accessories help protect you too. You should always wear sunglasses when you go outside. UV rays are harmful to your eyes as well. Whenever you're outside, if the sun's out, you should put sunglasses on. A wide-brimmed hat can help shade your face from direct sunlight. A baseball cap, a big sun hat is great, but that's not a replacement for sunscreen. You still need to put sunscreen on and put a hat on. And then you can also get personal misting fans when you go out. Some are just fans. Some have like a spray bottle attached, so you can fill them up with water, spray it on your face, use the fan, helps evaporate the water on your face and keeps you cool. And you can get them in a variety of sizes, but you can get them in little clip-on sizes, clip it onto a purse, clip it onto a backpack. That way you always have it, and you can refill them at any water bottle, station, any kind of water fountain, so you always have that on you. Kind of a nice option to have. And then when you go outside, it's really important that you find shade to keep you out of the sun. You can get shade under trees, if there's like a covered area, a covered patio. Sometimes where you can be, there might be like a shade of a building where you're able to set up. That's really important. If you're starting to feel hot, fatigued, if you're starting to notice symptoms, that's an indicator that you need to go back into the shade or you need to go back inside to an air-conditioned building. If you are starting to feel symptoms of overheating, you need to go back inside, but it is possible that it's too late. It's really important that you understand your body, you know what's going on, and you get inside as soon as possible and you get some water. But some ways to avoid this is just going outside at good times of the day. Some of the coolest times of day are sunrise and dusk when the sun's not at its highest point yet, and it's a little cooler, so if you have things that you need to get done, try doing it at those times. If you have to be outside for long periods of time or you have a big project that needs to be completed, try doing it in small increments, so you're outside for a little while, and then you go inside and you cool off, and then a little bit later you go out again, and you get a little bit more done, so you're doing it in small increments and not spending the entire day outside. It's definitely, inside is the best place to cool down. If that's not an option, finding shade immediately is going to be your best option. And so, yeah, next we're going to have Holly, who is going to talk about exercising in the summer with Emma.
Thank you, Phoebe. Good job. My name is Holly. I am the exercise specialist at KADEP. My background is health and exercise science from Colorado State University, and I do have the emphasis with adaptive exercise. So what I'm going to be talking about is exercising in the summer and what that looks like. We're going to cover different kinds of exercise, how to exercise without even knowing it, recommendations from the American Heart Association, and safety tips while you're out there, and resources for places for you to exercise inside during the summer, specifically in Colorado. So let's get started with the different kinds of exercise. I put them into 4 categories. This is specifically for structured exercise. So the first one's endurance. Endurance means that you go for a long time or distance, and it typically requires some sort of stamina. When you're doing this, it can be riding a bike for a long time or walking a long distance or running a long distance. That would be qualified as endurance. Strength training is the second kind. This means that you use any type of resistance to induce muscular contraction to help build your strength. So this can be lifting weights, using resistance bands, or even using gravity to help build your muscles. So that can be doing body weight squats or even push-ups. So strength training is obviously a really important kind of exercise. The third kind is balance. So balance is having the ability to have an even distribution of your weight. And you can challenge your balance in different ways. It's obviously very important for people with MS. Balance is kind of one of the first things that we struggle with, so it's important to really challenge yourself. It can be as simple as closing your eyes and lifting one leg off the ground and trying to hold that balance. There's also equipment you can buy to challenge your balance, such as there's a Bosu ball or a balance. It's like a plate that you stand on, and I know a lot of physical therapy places use it. So balance is very important, and then the last one is flexibility. Another term is range of motion. I say this is stretching. So doing this before you work out or after you work out, I prefer both if you're going to do it. Very important for your body to recover from breaking down those muscles. So these are the different kinds. It's really important to mix these kinds up. You don't want to stick in the same routine of doing the same exercise every day. I understand the comfortability and enjoyment of exercising, and it's really important to try to get some endurance, some flexibility, some strength training, all mix that together. So now, this is structured exercise. This is what people think of when you go to a gym or at home and you're exercising. This is what people think of. But there's also different ways you can exercise outside of a gym without even knowing it, which I love. It's important just to keep moving. You can exercise without knowing it. So walking, talking with a friend is really fun, and it's easy to get a good amount of calories burned, especially talking. I know I get a lot of calories burned talking. Dancing, listening to good music, do it in your car. That's what I do. And then playing with your kids is a fun one. Exhausting, but it's really good to just get on the ground or even just playing with their toys. It's fun. Cleaning, not as much fun, but is essential, and it helps burn a lot of calories, keeps your house clean. And the last one's yard work and gardening. Donna, my coworker, is going to be talking a little bit more about this later, but it's a really fun way to get outside, as Phoebe said. If you're going to go out and garden, make sure you do it early in the morning, late at night. Donna will talk more about that. But it's a really fun way to, as Donna will say, will burn calories. So these are kind of, if you hate structured exercise, try to get some of these things in. There's plenty more that I'm not talking about, but it's really great to just use it or lose it is what they say. Now, if you like structured exercise, these are the recommendations from the American Heart Association. So I'm going to be talking about these different recommendations and what they mean for people with MS. So first and foremost, 30 minutes of moderate intensity, 5 days a week or 150 minutes total. 25 minutes of vigorous intensity, 3 days a week, or 75 minutes total, and moderate to high intensity muscle strengthening 2 times per week. So this can look different for everybody. Moderate intensity means getting your heart rate up a little bit, starting to breathe a little bit heavier, but you're not killing yourself. And I think everybody knows that feeling of you're hating exercising, right? So moderate intensity means you can do it for a long time, okay? And then vigorous is kind of obviously a little bit more challenging. It's good to challenge your heart to get it beating quickly, helps build those muscles in your heart. Breathe harder. You can't talk while you're doing this. That's a good way to range or figure out where you are in your how hard you're working, is how if you can talk or not. And then the last one's muscle strengthening, which I kind of talked about earlier with body weight or weightlifting. So if you love having goals or sort of structure to your exercise, this is a really good recommendation for you. knowing that I need to get 150 minutes of moderate and 25 minutes of vigorous and 2 minutes of muscle strengthening in a week. Now, in order to get this, you kind of have to mix them together, right? So you can first, walk at a moderate intensity for 30 minutes and then do a light weightlifting, and you're already got a lot of that done. So mixing it all together. Personally, for me, I love to have a goal and I love to have the structure to follow. So for people who are also like that, it's good to see these recommendations. Now, if you are going to go outside in the summer, I have some tips and tricks for you. Time of day is obviously essential. Phoebe talked about this. I'm sure we're all going to just keep emphasizing this. Try to work out in the morning or later at night. I'm personally not a morning person, so I like late at night, and I know that other people are very opposite of that and love to get it done in the morning. Whatever works for you, try to find that. Just get out of the midday heat from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's just, especially in July in Colorado, it's just horrible out. So if you do go outside, stay in the shade, as Phoebe said also. And overall, I'm just going to say try to stay inside. There's a lot of good equipment you can do inside. You can even just work out in your living room if you need to. And it's good to avoid that summer heat as best we can. So safety tips, stretch before and after. Science has actually proven that it's better for you to stretch after you exercise. You're breaking down the muscles in your body, so to recover is important. Hydrate. A lot of people ask me about Gatorade or sports drinks. I typically say it's not necessary because of the sugar content in them. Gatorade and those kind of drinks are made for extreme athletes, professional athletes, or long-distance runners. Those kind of things, they are really, losing a lot of sweat. They need those electrolytes to help replenish their bodies. And for, the typical person, you don't need that. So water will suffice for the hydration piece. And listen to your body. I can't emphasize this enough. Every day is so different for people with MS, and I tell my clients all the time, if you're not feeling it today, don't push yourself. It's not worth it. Knowing the symptoms of what happens when you get hot, so fatigue, weakness in your limbs, the pain in your central body, and having that decreased cognitive ability, if you recognize that you're getting to that level, say, okay, today's not the day, and that's fine. It's okay to listen to your body. It's more important to be healthy long term than to take one day to really push yourself. So just focusing on that. If you're outside and you feel any of those symptoms coming up, take yourself out of it. You don't have to do it that day. Clothing is also a really important safety tip. You want to wear loose clothing or cotton material. Also, if you're going to wear clothing outside, it's going to be lighter color. It will help reflect the heat. If you wear black or dark gray or blue, that's going to absorb the heat and make you very hot. And the cotton material will help evaporate that sweat that you produce when you work out. So last slide I have for you is resources for places to work out inside. Obviously, I'm going to promote where I work, the King Adult Day Enrichment Program. We have a really awesome fitness center full of adaptive equipment. I run fans constantly because it's hot, but it's good in there, and it's a fun place to come and be with a bunch of people and work out, and it's full of good equipment that you can use and really mix up your workout time, and it's a fun place. I'm going to promote that. And then the Peak Center at Craig Hospital is another good resource. This place is specifically for spinal cord injuries, but they do have a lot of people with other disabilities or, so they'll have other people there besides spinal cord injuries. They provide personal training and one-on-one work with clients. Really cool place. Denver Parks and Rec is another cool opportunity. It is one of those places you exercise without knowing it. It's a lot of fun activities. Again, they do one-on-one stuff there. The fourth place I have is Campus Recreation at Auraria. This is an adaptive fitness program at the Metropolitan State University campus. They have another adaptive fitness center, and they provide the personal training when you need it. So that's for Colorado specifically. If you're anywhere else and you're interested in finding an adaptive fitness program for yourself inside, just Google it and look up adaptive fitness program in Dallas, Texas. I have no idea. But wherever you are, go ahead and look up a good place for you. I guarantee there will be other places. But overall, I'm going to say try to stay inside, find a good place for you, and enjoy your workouts. If you're not having fun, mix it up. Try to find something that you enjoy. And I hope you stay cool in the summer. Okay, I'm going to transition over to Donna, who's going to talk about the fun gardening and what a good calorie burner it is.
Thank you, Holly. Yeah, I've got a little my fitness tracker thing. General gardening burns about 400 calories an hour. So, like Holly was saying, as far as exercising without knowing it, there are definitely some ways to do it. So, some considerations, some things I'm going to talk about today. Environmental factors to consider while you're gardening, ways to access your garden, different resources that are out there, and then alternatives. If you've hit a point where it's just you're not able to manage a full garden on your own, or you like to be out in a garden but don't necessarily want to take care of a garden, there are days like that. So, environmental factors, here again reiterating, time of day, temperature, weather conditions, all very important. Time of day, before 10 o'clock, I would say even after 5 o'clock, especially if you're going to be out in the garden doing stuff. I know the light's starting to get a little dimmer at that point, but there are definitely ways you can break up activities. Before 10 a.m., if it's going to be a really hot day, I know in Colorado, if we're going to have a 95-degree day, by 10 o'clock it's already too hot. If you're a morning person, get out there at sunrise. It can be a great time to be in the garden. The dew's still on the grass, all this kind of stuff. So, but as far as breaking up by time of day, you're out there working and realize you haven't gotten everything done. It's getting too hot. It's time to go in. Do things that require a lot more light in the morning when it's brighter. Weeding, picking vegetables, checking for pests, all that kind of thing. And then save the watering and stuff like that doesn't require as much visual acuity for the evening as it's getting cooler and darker and that kind of thing. So it's another way to make sure you're getting your garden taken care of, but you're also getting yourself taken care of. So, as far as accessing the garden, there are all kinds of elevated gardening beds out there. Planters are a great option. Being able to move stuff. We've talked about staying in the shade. If you've got something on wheels, you can take it wherever you want. And then as far as watering the garden, we all need water. They need hydration too. So obviously some consideration has to be given to what your finances are and what you're able to afford. But if you've got a picnic table or a patio table and you've got 2 or 3 planters, you can have a garden with that, and it's pretty low cost. The picture shown here, this is more of a tabletop garden, and it's about a foot deep bin, and this gentleman's in a wheelchair, so you can see you can roll right up under it. This is similar to the gardens that we have here at KADEP. Ours are a little bit larger and a little bit longer, but it's almost like we use a drain pipe, so it's a rounded bottom. But there again, you can get a wheelchair up underneath it, or if you're sitting in a chair, you can scoot up right to it. Where sometimes if you've got either a large planter or a built-in planter area, if you've got some nice hardscaping, you can't always get up under it, and you're kind of going sideways to it. So things to consider. There again, knowing yourself and knowing what your finances are and what you can manage in your situation, whether you're in a patio, or you've got just a patio you're gardening on, or you've got a full, 2-3 acres that you can work with. Gardening is really great. That way you can adapt it to most any setting you're in. But since I don't know your setting, I can't give you all the different options. But there are options to fit most income levels and everything like that. So. As far as movable planters, most things you can find, you can get casters. Now you can go over to Home Depot and get them. Some places will sell special potter roller things where it's a tray that you set the pot on and roll it around. There are building plans out there if you do it-yourself types things that have wheels, and you can roll them all over the patio and stuff like that. So, like I said, you've got to be careful. You want them to be stable. You don't want it to be something where if your balance is going and its balance is going, that's going to be a really bad situation, obviously. So sometimes in that situation, a smaller object to move around like a planter would be better than a large built setup and that kind of thing. Sprinkler systems, you can go anywhere from handheld hose, and there are many different adaptable watering nozzles, some that where you just have to flip a lever if you have a difficulty with squeezing a trigger handle. Some of them have a nice long wand where you don't have to reach as far, or you can use it to reach with. All the way up to automated sprinkler systems where you've got it on a timer and it just runs every morning or something along those lines. Definitely talk with the specialists at even Home Depot, garden centers. They can give you a lot of help with some of those kinds of things. Let them know what your limitations are. Let them know what your environment, your situation, your yard, patio, whatever looks like, and they can also give you a lot of options for a lot of those things. So, gardening resources. There again, all those people that are at the garden centers and Home Depot and everything are an amazing resource. County Extension Office, I'll mention a little bit later too. Universities that have programs. There's really lots and lots of resources. I was going to say you can even call KADEP and I will tell you what I know and point you in the right direction as much as I can. So when it comes to plants, some people are just die-hard, have to start them from seed. If you're one of those folks, you probably know more information than I do as far as that is. I kind of do the combination of seeds and seedlings, and if it's something that's too hard to start from seed, I just go out and buy the plant. But there are lots of options, and you don't necessarily have to get out and about to go get them. There are a lot of good mail order catalogs out there and companies that will deliver not just seeds but plants to you. And it depends on if you're looking for vegetables or flowers. Depends on what type of gardening you want to do. Grow areas, we talked a little bit about it with grow or accessing your garden. Some people, they're again do-it-yourselfers, want to build a planter and have it. There are plants available on the internet. Some of the easiest, especially if you have to have a small patio, you get a planter that's maybe 12 or 14 inches wide and 12 inches deep. You can do a lot with that. That's a good base for a tomato plant and maybe a pepper plant together. Lots of flowers. And some people like to get creative parts. If you go on Pinterest, you'll see all kinds of crazy things where people have used wheelbarrows and bicycle baskets and old tractors. And there again, depending on your capabilities and what you're able to manage, you've got to be careful. Sometimes those can be a little less stable. And so while it looks really cute planting stuff in a wheelbarrow, it's not the most stable situation to work on something. So remember to keep that in mind as far as what's going to be safest and most accessible for you, as far as also aesthetic and cute and really cool in your garden. You've got to find that good balance so that safety is part of it. Tools. There are tons of tools out there. A Google search for adaptive gardening tools, or on Amazon if you look for ergonomic gardening tools, you're going to see things like that. And some of them are tools, some of them are adaptations or connector type things you can put on tools that you already have. Oh my gosh, there's so many. And there's all kinds of little scooters and seats as far as instead of trying to squat or get on your knees. They're again trying to maintain a safe situation where if balance is sometimes an issue, you get down on the ground, getting back up can sometimes be a big issue. Not that the scooters or the seats are also the most stable, but it might help save your energy a little bit. And if someone's going to be assisting you, it might be a little bit easier getting up off of one of those than up off of the ground and that kind of thing. So, and again, garden planning, you've got to figure out what's going to work best for you. Talking to specialists, talking to, like I said, I'm glad to talk to anybody if you want to give me a call. But, realizing, do you need something where you can access it from a wheelchair or a walker? Do you need to be sitting? Are you fully capable and able to be mobile, but for short periods of time? Does it need to be a smaller area? Lots of questions to ask as far as what needs to be planned out and that kind of thing. And if you've gardened in the past, great. But, having a half-acre garden that you've got to walk around and takes 5 hours to take care of every other day may not be a realistic situation anymore. And so, coming to terms with some of that and how that needs to be modified too. So, and there are alternatives to that in-ground big old half-acre garden and that kind of thing. Vertical gardening. Now these are pictures over here that I just took off of Pinterest, I think is where I found them. And obviously this one is a lot more elaborate than something like this. And I did not look for the plans of it, so I can't tell you exactly in detail what it would take to do something like that. But the top one is just a metal grid with tin cans attached to it and then herbs planted in it. So it's a nice indoor herb garden. The other one is a whole hydroponic setup, and if you're into that, great. You, like I said, with other things, you probably have more knowledge and experience with that than I do. But it's kind of a fun thing to think about, and maybe an interesting alternative at some point. So. Other things would be community garden. In the Denver area here, there's Denver Urban Gardens. They run a number of different community gardens. Part of it is if there's garden space available, and you'd have to contact specific organizations that monitor the gardens and everything to find out. In Boulder County, there's Growing Gardens. Lakewood has one. But throughout the United States, if you go to the HTTPS community garden right down here. That can help you find community gardens within communities all through the United States and that kind of thing. So there again, indoor gardening is an option, sometimes vertical gardening if you've got a nice sunny window even, or a sunroom, can be a great way to have it all accessible to you and still be really close to the air conditioning when you need it. Another option too, there again, if you aren't super big into getting your hands dirty, but you like to be out in the garden and see beautiful things growing, would be going to public gardens. Here in Denver, we've got the Denver Botanic Gardens, we've got Hudson Gardens. There's actually a number of others. Those are probably the best well-known. But there is a website that they all belong to, the American Public Gardening Association. So if you go in there and you type in the area where you're at, they'll tell you what's in your area. So, a few resources as far as tools go. Anything that helps people with some limitations to be able to access better. Like I was mentioning before, this is actually an add-on type of contraption to an existing spade. And so it helps to use more gross motor control and large muscle strength when fine motor might not be something that's working as well for you in the day. Scoop-type shovels, modified handles, all kinds of things. But arthritis supply companies, gardeners, labor-saving tools. There you go, something that's more ergonomic. Now, this website is from the UK, and I know you can't click on any of these with the setup right now, but you can cut and paste from the saved version online and that kind of thing. It's a UK, and they do sell things, and I don't know as far as the conversion and everything, but they also had some really great resources as far as other options that are available. And then adaptive garden tools is this last one. So, and then last slide I have for you is just Pinterest. Pinterest has all kinds of things. If you look for accessible gardening ideas, on Pinterest, you'll get a lot. And then your state and Colorado or state and county extension offices can be a great resources too. In Colorado, this is it, and then you can go county by county. Really, any state's going to have that kind of information, and it should be affiliated probably with one of the larger state universities, that kind of thing. So, hope that's helpful for you. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Molly, and she's going to talk to you about water sports and swimming in the summer.
Thank you, Donna. What I will be talking about is exercises in the pool, dryland activity, equipment for swimming, accessibility, pool conditions, and warm water versus cold water, and resources in your community. Exercises in the pool. Well, first, there's some benefits of swimming, such as increasing your mobility, increasing muscle resistance and strength, and increasing endurance. First, with water walking, lots of therapists emphasize walking heel to toe, unless you're walking backwards, which you can do as well. With walking in the water, you have your muscle memory and your lighter weight due to just water, gravity. Swimming with or without flotation, that's encouraged to be as independent as possible. I recommend that everyone wears flotation devices until they can really demonstrate proper swimming techniques. Watsu. This is a relaxation therapy. We have it offered by one of our physical therapists named Michelle at Rocky Mountain MS Center. And occasionally we will have staff do one-on-ones with folks doing Watsu, which is just a floating, like an S shape if you're floating with a therapist. With I Chi, that's similar to Tai Chi, except it's in the water. And every Tuesday at an Inglewood pool, we have that with Michelle, our physical therapist with Rocky Mountain MS Center. Water aerobics, there's plenty of classes throughout the United States. So look up one near you. Rocky Mountain MS Center does one on Fridays at ASMAR, Denver Parks and Rec, in the mornings. And dumbbells. Dumbbells are a great resistance tool to work on your biceps and triceps or any other muscle in your core or abdomen. Alrighty. Sometimes it's good to emphasize dry land swimming, which can just be exercises to improve your swimming while you're on land. So you can use a walking bar in a fitness center. You can do abdominal crunches in a chair, or really any exercise will probably improve your swimming. Equipment for the pool. Dumbbell floats, flotation belts, ankle weights, foot plates, and noodles. I haven't talked about ankle weights, and ankle weights can be a great way to help balance someone. Say somebody's feet just constantly come up from the surface of the pool. A weight on the ankle will help root that foot down, as well as increasing strength from walking. And then a foot plate is similar to an ankle weight, but it's a flatter surface that goes under the base of the foot. And this can help with flotation in the deep water to do like bicycling or treading water, but it also can be helpful in the shallow end for lengthening your leg and walking. And a noodle is a basic flotation device that's similar to the belt that you can find at any convenience store. Accessibility. Accessibility is huge with MS. You want to find a pool that you're comfortable in and that has changing stalls that are appropriate to your needs. You might want to look for bars in the shower stalls or an accessible entrance and exit in the pool. Hydro lifts are now a necessity for pools for ADA regulations. Sometimes you can use stairs if appropriate, or bars on the side of the pool with steps going down into the entrance of the pool. Having a plan is really key with accessibility pools. Bringing a therapist with you or a close family or friend would be appropriate. Lots of times you can find water aerobics instructors in your communities or recreation therapists in certain cities in the United States. Pool conditions. Temperature of the pool is definitely important for MS. So with warm and cold, I'll go into the benefits later with MS. But for a warm therapy pool, you can access, we'll find a warm pool through Google. For just your typical warm therapy pool. In Denver, there's only a handful. I know Charles Whitlock Recreation Center in Lakewood has one. Martin Luther King Recreation Center in Denver for Denver Parks and Rec is another example of a warm water pool, as well as the Ridge Recreation Center in Lakewood, Littleton area. For cold lap pools, those are found mostly everywhere, and that's probably what you will see the majority of the time. For indoor pools versus outdoor pools. In the summer, I would recommend indoor pools, I would recommend it for heat exhaustion. And you can find reservation times for groups with MS, such as ASMAR Rec, on Fridays. Denver. Outdoor pools, you want to avoid sun damage, wear sunscreen, and as Phoebe reiterated, you want to apply sunscreen 15 minutes before getting wet in the pool, and then if you get out, you want to dry off and then wait another 15 minutes after you reapply sunscreen. And you want to avoid the heat, so again, like Donna covered in gardening and Holly covered in exercise, avoid heat from 10 a.m. to 3 or 5 p.m. All right, so be prepared. And warm water versus cold water. People with MS typically do better in cold water pools, but there are always exceptions to the rule, and you want to consult a doctor before you go swimming. Hydro resources. Recreation centers, hotels, YMCAs, Easter seals are all perfect examples of where you can find a pool. Some apartment complexes even have their own pools. Rocky Mountain MS Center in Westminster, Colorado has 3 different pools that we use, and I'll just say them one more time. On Mondays, we use the Ridge, which is in Lakewood, Littleton area. On Tuesdays, we go to Inglewood, and that's where the I Chi or the Tai Chi swimming happens, and the Ridge is warm water. Sorry, I didn't say that. And then lastly, Denver Parks and Recs ASMAR Pool is where we do cold water community hydrotherapy. Thank you. To wrap up, I wanted to give a shout out to recreation therapists, say who we are, what we do, quickly. So who we are certified under college education, undergraduate degrees. Some of us have our masters, but what we do is we adapt exercises for people with disabilities. And here at the Rocky Mountain MS Center, we specialize in neurological disorders. Thank you, Phoebe, for talking about heat and MS, Holly, exercise, Donna, gardening, and thanks for tuning in. This is Molly about swimming.
Molly, I did have one submitted question for you. If you are in an indoor pool to cool off and you're doing exercises, is there a time limit that you need to really think about, or does it depend mostly on how you're feeling?
I would say always listen to your body. For a time limit, I wouldn't exercise more than an hour.
So thank you all for sharing this helpful information with us. Thank you for sharing your time with us as well. After we close the webinar, you will see a short survey. Please take a moment to let us know your thoughts. We do evaluate all of the feedback that we receive. You can find this webinar and additional MS education resources on our website at www.mscenter.org.